The emergency sirens wailed across New Chicago's sprawling skyline as the unidentified craft descended through the polluted clouds. Alex Mercer stood among the crowd of onlookers, his maintenance uniform still covered in grease from the morning shift at the filtration plant. Unlike the others who scrambled for cover, he remained rooted to the spot, watching the vessel's graceful spiral toward Earth. The ship landed in Sector 7, the abandoned industrial district where rusted skyscrapers reached toward the sky like broken fingers. By the time Alex arrived, military cordons had already formed a perimeter. Through the gaps in the barricades, he caught his first glimpse of her. She emerged from the craft on unsteady legs, her skin shimmering with an iridescent quality that shifted between azure and violet. Where her eyes should have been, there were luminous orbs that pulsed with inner light. Her frame was impossibly slender, almost fragile, and she moved with the uncertainty of someone lost in an unfamiliar world. The soldiers raised their weapons. Scientists in hazmat suits shouted instructions through speakers. Reporters pressed against the barriers, cameras flashing like artificial lightning. And through it all, the alien woman stood alone, trembling. Alex watched as she raised her hands, not in surrender, but in a gesture that seemed almost pleading. A crystalline sound emanated from her, musical and heartbreaking. The crowd recoiled. A child began to cry. Someone shouted for them to shoot. That's when Alex moved. He ducked under the barrier before the guards could stop him, sprinting across the cracked pavement toward her. Shouts erupted behind him, but he didn't stop. As he approached, those luminous eyes fixed upon him, and he felt a wave of emotion wash over him, fear, loneliness, desperation. Not his own feelings, he realized, but hers. "It's okay," he said softly, raising his empty hands. "I won't hurt you." She tilted her head, studying him with an intensity that felt like it penetrated his very soul. Then slowly she extended one slender hand toward him. Her fingers were longer than human ones, tipped with what looked like opals. Alex took her hand gently. Her skin was warm, almost feverish, and thrummed with a subtle vibration. The military rushed forward, but their commanding officer held them back, curiosity overriding protocol. Alex guided the alien woman. He would later learn to call her Jiggy, an approximation of the harmonic sound she made when referring to herself, away from the ship and toward the barriers. "She needs help," Alex called out to the assembled authorities. "Can't you see she's scared?" What followed were 3 days of interrogation, medical examinations, and bureaucratic nightmares. Alex refused to leave, sleeping in uncomfortable chairs outside laboratory doors, arguing with officials who wanted to treat Jiggy as a specimen rather than a person. He learned that her ship had malfunctioned during what appeared to be a survey mission. She was stranded, possibly the only survivor of her crew. The scientists were baffled by her biology. She didn't eat food as humans understood it. Instead, she absorbed certain wavelengths of light and electromagnetic frequencies. The sterile laboratory was killing her slowly, draining her luminescence day by day. On the 4th day, Alex had had enough. He'd watched Jiggy grow weaker, her colors fading from brilliant violet to a sickly gray. The scientists dismissed his concerns, insisting they needed more time to study her physiology. That night, Alex returned to the facility with a forged maintenance pass and a determination born of desperation. He found Jiggy in a containment cell, curled in the corner, her light nearly extinguished. When she sensed his presence, her eyes brightened momentarily. The musical sound she made was barely a whisper. "I'm getting you out of here," Alex said, working quickly to bypass the electronic lock. His years of tinkering with machinery at the filtration plant finally proved useful. They escaped through the service tunnels, Alex supporting Jiggy's weakening frame. He brought her to his apartment in the old district, a cramped space with exposed pipes and flickering lights, but it had a window that faced east, perfect for catching the morning sun. Over the following weeks, Alex transformed his home into a sanctuary for Jiggy. He installed full-spectrum lights, creating an environment that nourished her alien physiology. He spent his savings on specialized equipment that could generate the electromagnetic frequencies she needed. Slowly, miraculously, her colors returned. As Jiggy grew stronger, something remarkable happened. She began to communicate with Alex not through words but through shared visions and emotions. He experienced glimpses of her world, a planet bathed in perpetual auroras, cities that grew from living crystal, beings who communicated through symphonies of light and sound. In return, she absorbed his memories, learning about Earth through his eyes. The authorities searched for them, of course, but in a city of millions, 2 souls could disappear if they were careful. Alex continued working his shifts while Jiggy remained hidden, spending her days absorbing light and exploring the digital networks of Earth through the old computer Alex had provided. Her intelligence was vast and she learned quickly. One evening, Alex returned home to find his apartment transformed. Jiggy had used her abilities to manipulate the very molecules of his living space, creating crystalline structures that refracted light into rainbow patterns across the walls. In the center of it all, she stood waiting, her colors brilliant and vibrant. She showed him a vision then, a message she had managed to send into deep space, a beacon calling for rescue. Her people would come, eventually, but until then, she wanted to give him something in return for his kindness. Through their connection, Jiggy shared her knowledge, advanced mathematics that could revolutionize energy production, medical techniques that could cure diseases, philosophical concepts that challenged everything humanity thought they knew about consciousness and reality. But more than that, she shared herself, her thoughts, her fears, her gratitude. "Why did you help me?" she asked one night, her question manifesting as a cascade of images in Alex's mind. He thought about it, remembering that first moment when he'd seen her standing alone against a hostile world. "Because when everyone else saw a threat or a curiosity, I saw someone who needed help. I saw a person." The crystalline sound she made in response was like wind chimes in a summer breeze, pure joy. Months passed. Alex's apartment became a hybrid of human and alien technology, a place where two worlds intersected. Jiggy taught him to see light in new ways, to understand that communication existed beyond language. Alex taught her about human resilience, about the stubborn hope that kept people going even in the darkest times. Then on a night when the stars seemed particularly bright, Jiggy's ship, repaired by her remote manipulations, hummed to life in the abandoned sector where it had first landed. Through their connection, she let Alex know her people had received her message. They were coming. "Will you go back?" Alex asked, already knowing the answer. Jiggy's emotions washed over him, gratitude, sorrow, affection. Yes, she would return to her world, but she showed him something else, a promise. Her people would remember what Alex had done. When they made formal contact with humanity, they would seek him out. They would honor the man who treated an alien woman like a queen when everyone else had turned away. On the night of her departure, Alex stood in Sector 7 once again, watching as a ship far grander than Jiggy's survey craft descended from the stars. She turned to him one last time, placing her hand over his heart. The sensation that flooded through him was wordless but perfect, a bond that would transcend distance and time. As she walked toward her people's ship, her colors blazing with renewed vitality, Alex understood something profound. In a universe vast and strange, kindness was the most powerful force. He had given Jiggy sanctuary when she was lost, but she had given him something greater, the knowledge that humanity, at its best, could reach beyond fear and embrace the unknown. The ships departed in silence, leaving only stardust in their wake. Alex stood alone in the abandoned sector, but he wasn't lonely. Somewhere among the stars, Jiggy was going home. And someday, when her people returned, they would bring with them a story, the story of a maintenance worker named Alex who had looked at an alien stranger and seen not a threat, but a queen worthy of respect, dignity, and kindness. In the end, perhaps that was all anyone ever needed to be, someone who chose compassion when the world chose fear.